Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Lego. I hope all of you guys are having a great night, and we're going to have a great night as well because we have a fantastic guest to jump on. And Andrew, why don't you give us a little rundown of that, and let's have him on.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, how you doing tonight? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live. We are talking with Charged Bricks, also known as Colby Adolphsen from Maine. And, I came across his profile, and to be honest with you, when I look at his profile, it takes me straight to Maine. A lot of his builds, I feel like his builds are literally like you walk out his door and that's what he sees.
Yeah.
Right. That's the way it all feels.
Yeah, I agree.
So 100%. It's kind of interesting. So let's bring him in and start picking his brain a little bit.
Cool.
Welcome, Colby. How are you?
How you doing? I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, doing all right.
James Westman is in here saying hello.
Hello. Awesome.
What's going on?
So, I'm excited to have guests. We want to reach out to the community. We want to have people on here. So that's kind of what we're doing tonight. And we want to start doing this more. So you are the second guest. We had Jordan on a couple, last month, I think. So we're really excited to have you on here. And just to get started, why don't you tell us a quick bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into some Lego questions.
Sure. Yeah. So I live here in Maine with my wife and my two little boys. Awesome. I work at our hospital system here in Maine. I work in our quality and safety department at the local hospital.
Awesome.
Cool. I've been in healthcare in various capacities for the past 8 years or so.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what I do. And yeah, I lived in Maine most of my life, all but a few years. So this is where I grew up, and yeah.
Like Andrew said, that's very evident in your builds. That's kind of unique for some people, I think, to see the location they live in represented in Lego. I know that's sort of maybe a more artist's take on things, but to see that in Lego, in the Lego community, it doesn't happen as much. I think we're locked into our themes and the things we like inside of Lego.
Here's my thing is it's one thing to build what you see, right?
Sure.
Well, all I see is woods and trees, right? So that gets really expensive one direction. So most Lego builders tend to stick to the wild things that aren't that you want to create, right? Yeah. Where some artists, some brick guys, some brick artists build, landmarks and, these kinds of things and, local landmarks. Now, if I was to go out and build something local in my county, there's not a soul in this county that would actually give a damn. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then all I've got is this boring building that's in, middle Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's kind of, it's kind of odd. And it, obviously we've been following one another, you and I, for quite some time, and Jason as well.
Yep.
And actually looking at your profile and looking at everything, it's literally it feels like Maine.
Yeah.
It feels like, the northern East Coast, small, quiet towns, with docks, sticking off the side kind of thing, which I can imagine. I can visualize that.
Yeah.
Because I have no desire to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I heard it's kind of cold and windy a little bit.
Right now it is.
Yeah, right, cold and windy and icy apparently.
I've always wanted to check it out though. Maine has its appeal, definitely. The lighthouses and the rocky shores. Yeah.
Mirko is in saying hello.
Hey, good to see you.
Lady Bricks.
Glad you're on.
It's
worthy of note that Colby is actually a pretty steady listener to the show and been tuning in on Instagram and YouTube now. So that's fun to have someone from the show or from the comment section jumping in with us today. So what do we got here?
Mirko is saying, still remember your Fort Legorado post.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for sharing the great intimate story. Yeah, I read that too.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
We can all appreciate that. Not that I would have ever given that much crap about that set because I just wasn't attracted to it.
Dude,
but we all have that set. We all have one, right?
This guy out.
Exactly.
Jason's was the Enchanted Island.
Yeah. Enchanted Island.
That was,
oh man,
that was one of his like,
Yeah.
oh, gotta have it.
Yeah. As soon as I saw it, man, it just takes you completely away.
So we all have a set that's just like we're seriously drawn to for some reason or another.
Yes.
But yeah, it was good. It was good. That was interesting. It was an interesting story. It's surprising.
Yeah.
Go Mom. Right.
It was yeah. I definitely in that post I did try to convey the legitimate surprise that we had on Christmas. Like,
yeah,
we knew it wasn't
imagine.
happening, and all of our like it was over, and then she pulled it off. So
you gotta love that.
That's what moms do, man.
Christmas miracles coming right out, you know.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
Taz is in saying, hey, that's it. Just
hey.
I like to talk to everybody, man.
Yeah, bring them all in. Drop the comments for sure. So it sounds like you were a fan of Lego as a child.
Yes.
Were you ever since little guy, or like when did you get into Lego? What drew you to Lego?
Yeah.
And then we'll tail that with, did you ever have like a dark age type draw from Lego? So
sure.
Yeah.
So I got into Lego. I mean, when I was 5, I got my first Lego set. The little yellow trail ranger Jeep with the classic green town figure. And I still have the set. Well, I don't have that set, but I did get it just because I wanted to have that.
Are we talking about the one from the Outback?
No, it was like the one from the classic town, and it was like a 60-piece set or something like that. It wasn't the one from the Outback, but it was like the smaller version of that. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I can see it in my head. I just can't.
Yeah. I remember buying it. I remember getting it. But so I was the late 90s. The late 90s was when I was into Lego, and 2000, 2001 was
like my favorite time.
Yeah,
it was the best time.
So so the strongest nostalgia for me is like the Western theme. And I was into the adventurous theme a lot too. And
as well.
we had somebody give us, me and my brother, we had someone give us a lot of like used like pirate and castle Lego from probably like 1992, and we crushed it with those too. Like, so we mashed up all of these themes and just made crazy worlds with them. But so those are the ones that have the strongest nostalgia for me, for sure. And as far as a dark age, I always say I never really had a full, like, I always had my Lego, and I was always kind of like picking up sets occasionally here and there through my late teens and into my early 20s. And, but I never really, I didn't really build them that much. I probably pull them out once a year and like put all my stuff together and then put it away nicely in the closet, after that.
Like, yes, you're still here. Good.
So when I was, I think when I was like 15, my parents, like one Christmas, just kind of out of the blue, got me like a bunch of like the 9-volt train. I got that red train shed. So it was kind of out of the blue, and that kind of like really got me back. I was like, oh, these are, I forgot how awesome these were. I think so. There was maybe a couple years where I wasn't as into it as much.
How old are you now?
I'm 33.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, not to be nosy, but I mean, how large is your Lego collection?
It's not that large. And I say that like I haven't been, I had a lot of the Lego that I played with as a kid was lost to time, is gone. It was sold, throughout those years. I sold a lot of it, bought and sold different things. And and into my 20s, I started using some of that to buy like bulk Lego. So I could like kind of head a direction, because I wanted to get a lot so I could start maybe thinking about mocking. So,
that actually tails into another question I had. That's perfect. It is, do you buy for sets at all, or did you, and maybe not so much anymore, or what you just said? Yeah. So you kind of tailored your interest into bricks to create the things you wanted to build. So when did you start building mocks, and then do you ever buy stuff for sets, or do you only really look at parts on sets and see what you can get from those?
Yep. I started really getting serious about building these mocks probably a couple years ago.
Okay.
It was something I was building up to. Like I was like,
Sure.
always knew, I was like, one of these times I'm going to get a setup and I'm going to start actually putting stuff together. But it was like I said, a couple years ago, I did a mock. I did a mock of my own house. I built my own house.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that was kind of the first one that really, started this for me.
Cool.
Yeah. And so for sets, I do like certain sets, and I will try to get my hands on them, but they're lower for me. They're lower priority than if I'm weighing what I want. If I'm going to spend $200 or $300 on Lego, I'm like, do I want to get parts or do I want to get this set?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, are you buying parts from Bricklink?
I do buy parts from Bricklink. Yeah.
So is that your primary go-to for parts?
It is. It's been that, and it's been. I mean, like I said, I've done a lot of bulk buying from like Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
If I find some deal on eBay, some deal on eBay or something like so. But if I need something specific, I always go to Bricklink.
Got it. Yeah. You ever? And of course, I mean, there's the brick walls at Lego stores if you can get to them.
Yeah.
And then
how far is the closest Lego store to you?
It's in Boston, so that's like 3.5 hours.
Holy crap!
And it's not only 3. It's like going from Maine, which is this like quiet, boring countryside, into this obviously Boston, which is like so. It's.
Don't get
doesn't happen. It doesn't really happen.
Yeah. He doesn't hit the pick a brick wall, Jason.
Fair enough.
I wish oh man, when I see people post about the pick a brick wall, I'm like, you just
Yeah, so
I know.
A fun little tangent on pick a brick wall before we jump into anything else. I'll just say it's a hit and miss, right? Obviously, because you can't tell what's on it until you're there. But I will say, for most of the parts on the wall, it is the cheapest way to get the most amount
100%.
of certain pieces. Like we're talking
100%.
about 0.00 cents per piece, some of these, because you can pour so many into those cups. Now, those are the littler, smaller pieces you can pack in.
Small pieces.
They sell for like a 50th of the price they sell them on their own website, right?
So, the brick linkers are going in buying a couple of the small pieces and putting 2 or 3 cents on each one.
It's great margin.
100%.
Yeah, great margins on those.
Yeah, so fun little fact. It is the cheapest way to get brand new Lego parts of a certain size, I would say. So anyway,
is that Relax? I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Hello. How are you?
We'll say hello. Crusaders in here. Anyway, hey, good to see you.
As far just to kind of like to finish that thought, I do like getting sets and I do like building them, but usually once I've built them and enjoyed that process, usually I don't have anywhere to display them really in my house. I have a small house, and so they usually the parts end up going probably back into circulation for most of the sets,
which is pretty
for
standard.
Me to use.
For sure. And that can also kind of guide sometimes for me, like looking at a set. I'm like, all right, well, it's a cool set, but it also has that I can then use
100%
later. So
100% do that. I say I like this set. I'm going to enjoy building it once, and then these parts are going to be great for
you're already eyeballing their potential there.
I do have one other question before we jump into these slides of your builds. Just because you mentioned your house, how does that dynamic work when you're building a mock? I mean, do you have like a set room that you can work in to do that, where it's always open and available, or?
Yeah, I have. So the room I'm in now is like my office. It's like office library, but it's also my Lego room. It's cool. I got Lego stashed all neatly organized under the desks,
under the tables and everywhere, wherever you can stick it. Yeah.
When I redid this room, my wife didn't really know I was turning it into a Lego room, but I did. I built a nice built-in desk for Anyway, so this is where I do it, but I use it as my office as well.
Nice.
And
I'm always curious how people use their space to build in.
Awesome.
Fooling with Bricks is in. Hello from the UK.
Hey, glad you made it.
All right, you guys ready to talk about some of these builds?
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's get
All
into
right.
it.
All right, Colby. So this obviously is a building in your area, I assume. And
Yep.
then there was an article written about it. So tell us a little bit about that because it's kind of interesting.
Sure.
It's like almost micro scale. Is it micro scale?
It's not micro scale. The size of it, I would say it's close to minifig scale. For the build.
I wonder if it's the detail you were able to put in to make it look a little smaller. It does look kind of at least like mid scale, sort of. But
yeah,
that's cool.
This I built this last winter, and this is a lighthouse that is in the town that's like kind of where I work. So we're right on the coast. Where I work is right on the coast.
Okay.
And this is at the end of a half-mile like granite breakwater out into the harbor. So this is a replica of that. And you probably saw, if you looked at the post, the pictures that are kind of compare it to. But so this was one of my first like replica mocks after my house that I did. And yeah, I liked how it turned out, and so I posted it up on Instagram. That was kind of right after I started on Instagram, and
James Westman says the article says Legos.
I know.
I say Legos.
I didn't like the article. I'm sorry.
I say Legos on purpose all the time.
You know you're not supposed to do that, Jason.
Just to piss people. Yeah, who tells me I'm not supposed to do that?
Just
Lego
to make
does.
people mad.
I do everything Lego tells me not to do. That's why I do what I do. So I say Legos all day long. You know what also says Legos? Is the Fred Meyer has the sign above it in their official store. It says Legos in Fred Meyer. Like, I'm surprised Lego hasn't come after their marketing for that, because that's a little more official. But
that's what I said as a kid. That's what I always said. Like, I didn't know the difference. So it was always Legos. So
I did too.
It always slips out once in a while. Still, like
they legitimately, when you go to work at their retail, like front retail side of the stores, they will re-educate you. Like that, you go through actual basically re-education in their like storeroom in the back, and they're like, you can't say Legos with an S. Like, it's crazy, dude. I'm like, and so now I'm just
behind the wall details.
Yeah, dude. And now I just say it all the time just to piss people off.
Did you have this build displayed somewhere, Colby?
I didn't. So I didn't have this one displayed anywhere. The editor of this magazine. So this showed up in Maine Boats magazine. She actually found me after after I built my library, and I had a little bit of local publicity from that. And so she found my stuff, and she wanted to put this particular one in this little article, just because her magazine's about boats and the coast of Maine. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So it was a feature in something that wasn't expected. So that was kind of special.
Yeah. And it was cool to get this call, because it was the first one after that. She's like, oh, she's like, I do a little feature every magazine of a few different fun things that we find, and I'd like to put this in there. So it was very cool.
That's pretty cool.
What was the name of the magazine again?
It's called Maine Boats.
Maine Boats. So it's a local little magazine.
It's a locally done magazine.
Well, shout out that Maine Boats. Go check them out. That's really cool. And then you can see more details of this and your publishment on your Instagram, right? So if people wanted to check it out more. So yeah, that's really cool, man. It's always a lot of fun to like have someone publish something you've worked on, huh?
It's super cool.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say, just like specifically about this build that was a little bit different than I'd ever done, was I put, and you guys, just from a technique standpoint, like I used tiles for the windows and for the door, instead of actually using windows and doors.
Okay.
I don't know if you can tell that, but like
I can.
I couldn't find the right ratio of like door, like to make it look right. Okay. And so like, I'm just going to, they're shuttered most of the time anyway. I'm just going to put these tiles on for the effect that I wanted,
That's awesome. So, that's being really resourceful and very creative with what you had to make it,
That was
Looked like
that was why I felt like it was like a micro scale type build,
yeah.
because it wasn't windows and doors. It's like little tiles. So I'm like,
Right.
Exactly. And if you look at the real structure too, it's like the doors are actually they are small, but maybe not that small, but they're pretty small. But anyway, as far as the dimensions of it, like the length and the width, I try to always like match them pretty close to like minifig scale. But
what I like to do on builds like that, and I don't know if it's relevant to anything moving forward, but what I like to consider is one stud is like 1 foot.
Yeah.
Like that's my scale of how I build, like something to real life scale.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. Now, if you finish something like that and you do use that scale, you will find that it is very, very, very tight with a minifig.
Yes.
But it's more accurate to scale, like size wise, if you use that format.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I work off of.
That's kind of where I've gone with it too, is I'll always use a minifig as my as my measurement. Like if a minifig's 5 or 6 feet tall, what's that look like? So yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that one's kind of interesting. And then this next one here is I assume it's a lighthouse.
It is, yeah.
Near you, I would assume.
It is. Yeah, it's about 40 minutes from me. This is one of I decided to build this last spring because we were down there. Like this is one of me and my wife's favorite spots to go around here, just to chill and have lunch or whatever. It's a really nice spot. And so I decided, I'll try to build this bridge. So it's like a bridge across rocks with just the one little short lighthouse at the end. So
yeah,
this is in Port Clyde, Maine. So it's a really cool place for sure.
Well, I really liked that you had both photos, a photo of it straight on like this, and then a photo of your build straight on. I thought I'd put those side by side, and then we can also take a look at the the side structure of it itself. So I assume that this little bridge that goes out to this lighthouse is rock like that, maybe at low tide. That's what it looks like.
It is. And actually, even at high tide, it was built, the water only gets up right about to the base of those the pillars. So it doesn't if it's a storm, then it'll rise a little higher. But yeah, that's what it looks like most of the time. You can go right down on the rocks most of the time, which is fun. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys have more specific questions about this one, but what I was going to say is this one is, this is I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Forrest Gump. Probably you have.
Who hasn't seen Forrest? I mean, we're not talking to somebody in some other country, man.
This is America.
This is America.
We've seen the movie.
when he's doing his coast to coast run, this is the lighthouse that this is the end of his East Coast run in real life. So so when they filmed that movie, they filmed on that location, and he ran to the end of that pier and then ran back.
Were you and your wife having lunch that day?
We were not. No, I was like 3 years old that day, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry. You're a lot younger. I'm sorry. My time got messed up. What happens when you get old.
But yeah, that's the fun fact about this one.
I like the that's awesome. That's a fantastic fact. That's really cool. I was curious about the base of the lighthouse with the masonry brick at that angle like that. Did you use the little clip hinges, or how did you pull that one off?
At the base of the lighthouse, you said?
Yeah, it looks like that it's circular.
Yeah,
somewhat.
I did use like the hinge piece. So it's like less of a circle. Yeah, it's like basically an 8-sided, I think.
So more of an optical style. Yeah.
To get it tight enough of a. I don't know. That was a tricky part for me on that particular one. I tried a couple different things, and that's what came out looking.
It works.
Best. Yeah, I think it did.
It's always tricky to get any circular style of anything that's of substance in Lego.
Yeah, it was really tight as well. Like it's a small circle. Like you can sometimes bend the pieces if they're like if you get some of those plates that are the rounded plates and stuff like that. But it generally makes a wider circle. So anyway, that's kind of what I had to go do with that. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, overall, I think it's a pretty cool build. It's something cool to have in your arsenal. I wish that I had the time to do just random stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like this, just because my build profile is very weak on Instagram because I spend most of my time doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can always appreciate when you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm going to build this pier and this lighthouse.
Yeah.
And then you start and, you know, you've got kind of a format to go off of. And, you know, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
And I like both pictures up there too, because like I try to show people, like, because obviously no one outside of like Maine or even mid coast, you know, where I'm from in Maine, are just gonna have any idea that I'm actually building something. So I try to put that side by side to show this is something like a replica, something I based it off of.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you know,
otherwise it's just
this is what I was going for.
Right, I see. Yeah, no, that's cool. I noticed the planking underneath the tan planks, you know, that uneven look as the old wood and the painted wood under there, and then the rough look of the railings. You caught it all really well, which is, it looks close to minifig scale, and that's really difficult to do when you build in minifig scale to get certain details like that. So that's, I think it looks nice, man. It's really cool.
Yeah. I do want you to talk to me about this.
Yeah, this is cool.
It is cool.
So this is a like I based it off of I call it a replica. I did as close as I could to it's a schooner that's out of Camden, Maine. That still runs tours, basically, like week-long tours. But it's the oldest functioning schooner in the United States that's still sailing. It was originally built in like 1870s. And it's been redone obviously since then, but it's still going. And yeah, I don't know. I was still like, I built some structures at this point. I was like, I think I want to try to build a ship and see what comes out. Like build
another ball game.
Yeah, like try something a little bit different. And so it was definitely an adventure to build this thing. But yeah, I think I don't have pictures side by side for it, but it was a couple
of nice techniques here though.
I was gonna
the angled panels to create the bows. And then like using the ladders as the rigging.
Yes.
That's kind of clever. I don't know that I would have done that and said, yeah, this is the way I want to go based on just looking at a few of them.
Yep.
But seeing them on a finished build, I can see how that would work. And it doesn't look bad. It does kind of work for that.
I had not originally planned on doing ladders for like this boat, but after thinking about it for a while and I was getting kind of near the end of the build, I was like, let me try putting a row of those on and see how they look compared to what's there.
Yeah. And
I felt like they kind of captured what I wanted them to.
Yeah.
Well, you know, for some reason as a kid, you know, I mean, I was one of the first kids in America to have the Black Seas Barracuda. I got it year of for Christmas. So any ship beyond that had to have that rigging piece.
Yeah.
The long brown.
Right.
Love that piece.
Like it had to be that piece or it was nothing.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the ladder wasn't even a ladder yet in 89.
Yeah.
That was a piece that came out after that.
Yes.
Did it?
So that wasn't even an option yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they were using the fire truck ladders on the like Forestman's Crossing and stuff. They didn't have the clip ladder.
Yeah. And that was later than that. Yeah. So did you make these sails? Did you just like grab some fabric and just like chop it up how you wanted it?
These sails really I could have used some finish work on these. The sails are they are that fabric painter's drop cloth from a hardware store.
Yeah.
They have that kind of that funky texture.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know, obviously I couldn't. Yeah, so I've made these sails myself, and they aren't very polished, but probably
Is
if
it
I
like
was to do this over again, I would actually have some like, you know, someone do something with them, then, you know,
wait, what
hem
did
them
you
and stuff.
did you
But
say that they were like some painters something or other? Is it
yeah,
like a canvas?
they're painter's drop cloth. If you
Yeah,
go
but
to
like,
like a hardware store, they got like a that fabricy drop cloth. Those kind of like almost canvasy type things.
Mhm.
yeah,
And
throw
I
that on the
basically
floor.
got one of those and cut them up into sails. Yeah.
That's pretty great.
So it's not Lego, but you know.
Yeah, you could probably if you can get people to do custom stuff now like that. But that works pretty well. You didn't have to starch them or anything. It just you hung them off and it worked okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were kind of stiff enough, like I didn't need to put starch on them or anything like that. So and I thought about I did look around for some like custom sale stuff, and I was like, for the money I had into this thing, I
Yeah.
actually didn't end up needing to buy any, you know, I didn't need to end up buy any additional pieces for this particular build. I had everything I needed. And that was kind of one of my goals for this build was I was like, I'm going to build something that I don't need to go do any bricklink orders for. You know, I want to have everything. So.
That's the first thing I want to do when I want to build something. Let me get to
Yeah.
Bricklink, buy
Yeah.
everything in hordes.
Yeah. That's I like to as what like that would be ideal too. But I was like, I'm gonna sit down and I'm just gonna like see what do I have and what can I build
Yeah.
with it. So,
Yeah.
Got to mention this comment because James Westman has been he's been a groupie for the show for a long time, so he knows. He says let's just make it official because it's the internet. Andrew from Brick Monarch was the first kid in the United States to own the Black Seas Barracuda.
Andrew was the first kid in America, and like we used to say on our old lives on the Instagram app.
Yeah.
You heard it from us. You heard it on the internet, so it's true, right?
yeah.
First kid in America to own the Black Seas Barracuda. I still don't
That's
own
right.
the original, actually. So.
Well, I don't either. I sold it before my dark ages.
Yeah, we all got the Pirates Bay version, which is pretty great. But I'd like to get the OG one. No, I think the jumping back to this ship, the drop cloth sails do actually add kind of a more authentic look to it than the crisp Lego ones.
Yeah,
so that's kind of a fun little feature there. And yeah,
it feels a lot more like a model.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's perfect, actually, Andrew. I was trying to grasp at something like that. It does. It looks like an actual model of a ship, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Going with the brick built hull is a tricky thing to do. So a lot of people will jump onto the boat pieces, right?
Right. Yeah, it was a tricky thing to do, and I tried to capture and you might be able to tell, but I tried to be like pretty subtle about the bends, like the edge, like near the front where it's bending up just slightly, but it's not like dramatic. So there's a couple hinge pieces on there, and just try to give that just enough curvature to look like a ship. So.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say, like, even just a slight, I mean, sometimes the slight variation, the slight bend, the slight curve is even harder to do than something drastic. So, I fully appreciate the difficulty of what you accomplished here, because that was the first thing I noticed about the ship was the hull and how you decided to put it together. Last question on this from me is, have the people who run the tours on this noticed this build yet? And do they want to like display it at their headquarters or anything yet?
Yeah, so the folks that the folks that run this boat, they have they did, you know, message me and like, hey, this is awesome and everything. It's their operation is literally the people that own the boat do the tours. Like it's not run by a company. It's
a mom and pop thing, man.
Yeah. So
sure.
And this thing would not do well on the sea at all.
No.
This is probably one of my more fragile builds. Like the masts and stuff, like I should have probably done a little more work on them to like make sure that they were real secure, but you know, hindsight. It's still displayed in my office here in the background. Like I still have it built and everything, and it hasn't fallen apart, but it's pretty, I don't move it around much because it's pretty fragile.
Got it.
All right.
Cool.
Well, does that wrap it up on this one, Jason?
Yeah, I think so. You got any final thoughts? It's a nice build.
I mean, it looks like something you'd set on your fireplace mantle.
Yeah,
What can I
100%.
say?
I did put the wheel, like the steering wheel, whatever. I put it on the back. I put it backwards, and somebody commented on that on Instagram, and they're like, "Well, why do you have that on backwards?" And I was like, "That's how it is on the boat." Like I was looking at pictures, and that's exactly how it is on the boat. So I said, "That's why I did it." I said, "That's how the real one is." So.
Make it look,
Okay,
how it is. Yeah, that's interesting.
So far, we've got a little building in Maine, in some little town.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lighthouse pier 45 minutes south of him that he likes to eat lunch at in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
The boat is a charter boat in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
I bet this is in Maine as well.
Yeah, look at that.
Yep, that's
it's a pretty good build for the pieces that you're using. I mean, it looks pretty accurate.
Well, thank you. I was going for lobster. It looks like a lobster, right? So
it does.
Yeah.
But being from Tennessee, it's missing something. It doesn't have the little band around its claws, and it's sitting in the bottom of a fish tank at the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah. This was. I don't know why I did this because I built that lighthouse, and we have in the town where the lighthouse is, Rockland. They have a yearly lobster festival because lobster fishing is like the biggest industry in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, you're gonna have to build a lobster next." Kind of like commented on it. I was like, "Okay," and I was like, "Well, I'll try building a lobster," just because I was like, "What am I gonna build next?" I don't know. So,
did you? What was difficulty running into on any of this, or was it pretty easy to just slap together?
The difficulty on this for me was the body, the actual body of it. You can see, like, I used a lot of those slopes, those kind of smooth slopes, but it was hard for me to contour it so it wasn't just like really what's the word I'm looking for, like
a tube.
Yeah, just one same size cylindrical tube.
Right.
So I had a couple buildups there you can kind of see, but
yeah, no, that works.
I think it worked. It wasn't too dramatic of a step up. And then the tail, the tail was kind of a fun part because I didn't know what to do for the longest time on the tail, and then it kind of came together for me real quick, and I'm like, oh, it kind of looks like a lobster tail.
Yeah, out of everything on this build, I would think that the tail would have been the most difficult to come up with. The bricks and the structure to actually make it work and look like a lobster tail.
Yeah, I landed on so basically it's like 4 or 5 or 5 or 6 hinged pieces. And the kind of the top of the tail are those basically those red I don't know what like the hoods on trucks. You know what I'm talking about? Those pieces.
Yeah.
That's kind of the main part of the tail, and then I have some of the wedge plates and stuff like that. But that gave enough of a profile that kind of made it look like a lobster tail.
James Wesman said he might eat that on accident. Now, when I think of Maine, I think of lobster.
Yeah.
From Bullin' with Bricks.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, overall, it's a pretty good build. I don't know if Jordan's in here, but this looks a lot cooler than that weird caterpillar thing that he's got going on.
Uh-oh. Colby 1, Jordan 0 on the animal build.
Yep, for sure.
I built a couple. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this thing. This is like the first time I'd ever tried sculpting anything, and I'm not like a super fan of sculpting stuff. That's not like, but this turned out pretty good, and it's big. It's like 2 feet long. I think it's about 2 feet long. It's stretched out, so it ended up being pretty big too. But
it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks good. It looks pretty on point, to be honest with you.
Well, building brick-built creatures is actually kind of. I mean, it's. Yeah, so you go from buildings, then you went to the ship, and that's a whole nother ball game. Then you jump into the big brick-built creature. Totally new set of skills.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's sculpting. It's trying to. I did a couple of sea monsters for this pirate spinoff I was working on a little bit, and creating animals is completely different. That's why I was gonna say that's why some of those creator animals look so cool, but that's also why some of them look like actual trash. Like they're hard to do.
They're hard to do, yeah.
So I think you pulled this one off real well. And
there's a really fine line there, right? Of like, hey, this looks like the animal, and this is like what is
I mean,
couldn't you just have done a mold?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that fine line. And you can see when that fine line doesn't quite pan out in some of those creator sets. Usually it's the alternate build from the original, like the third build or the second build. Usually the main build looks okay. But you can really see that displayed in some of those creator animal sets. But yeah, I will say the last thing I really wanted to point out is the cheese wedge little pieces you got on there to make the rough, pointy skin. Or shell, I guess that's the armor.
Yep. Yeah, they have like lobsters have that little edge of their skin, that outer shell that's got like the spikes on it. Yeah,
they do have those little claws on the they call it the knuckle of the lobster, and and that was one thing when my wife first saw that was the first thing she commented on. She's like, that actually looks like the knuckles on the lobster.
It's a good it's a good touch, man. It really pulls the whole thing together. Just something that simple, something that's not even that prominent, gives it that rough edge there. It looks perfect.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice touch, and it almost looks like that tail is like curved around, which is also how it bends in real life.
Yeah, it does bend. Yeah, I got some hinges in there that makes it so I can stretch it out or curl it in, like, because most of them are going to be curled in when you're pull them out of the water. So the other fun fact is, so I said lobstering's the #1 industry here in Maine. My brother is a lobsterman, or he's a sternman on a lobster boat, so that's what he does for a living.
Like, that's a job?
Yeah, lobster fishing, that's the job. Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's landlocked.
It's a good job too for the lobsterman.
Andrew over here, like,
yeah.
A good job here is to go like 9 stories below the rock into the mines.
Right.
Based on your location, I suppose there's a prominent job for everything, right?
Yeah, that's pretty.
We don't have mines
on a lobster boat.
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to be lobstering. Cool. That's pretty crazy, though.
Does he have the pipe and like the navy blue and white striped sweater and everything?
No, they have the big yellow.
No. Tell him he's got to do that right. He needs got the sweater, the beard. He needs to do the whole bit, right?
You know what he needs, guys? Here, like, just real quick, it's a knitted sweater, one of the white knitted sweaters with the little anchor crocheted on it, like the Lego Classic guy. You should get him something like that for Christmas. There you go. Get a custom Lego sweater with the little anchor. Right? The little captain guy. I don't know what. He was in City, one of the town sets.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's cool, though. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
That's a pretty crazy job. I mean, yeah.
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 Is that dangerous
Steve,
at all, being out there?
Steve says he's got to go. It was nice meeting you, Colby. That was from Steve Weiser.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that.
Have a good night, Steve. Thanks for jumping on.
So moving on from this element of Maine, I assume this is in Maine as well.
Yeah, and this is this is not exactly a replica, but I based it really heavily off of a harbor that's pretty, that I grew up around, like pretty close to all this other stuff we've been seeing. So like I use that harbor as kind of my my mold, but it's not, I wouldn't say anything's a replica of it. But yeah, I just wanted to do a harbor diorama, because I thought that might be fun with the docks and everything. So yeah.
I mean, this is a kind of cool build. Do you have this thing setting up still, or is this since been taken apart? Or
I have it all built still. It's in 6 sections. So it's built on 6 of those 48 by 48
the gray
plates. Okay. And so I have all 6 of them still built, and they're just, I have them all kind of broken down and put into a closet, kind of separate. But
so so this is cool. I really like this. As soon as I see it, it looks like a scene in a movie, or like they're gonna pan into that. I assume that's the processing, like kind of not hardware, like a place where they would bring in some of the catch and stuff like that. The big red building. Is that what that is? Cool. Okay. Yeah. And then you got some really nice little boats in there. But yeah, no, this whole thing tells like a whole kind of functional little port area, and I can imagine all kinds of little stories, and you know, it reminds me of the Perfect Storm movie. You ever see that one?
Yeah,
kind of like the harbor towns and the dock warehouses and stuff they have in that kind of, or Jaws, I guess you could say Jaws too, but
Jaws,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like it. It tells a story instantly, especially just the position of the boats, right? Like the little people in there. It's great. I really, really like this a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the fact that, you know, it again, it's capturing your location. I think more than anything.
It does it, and I tried to make it kind of like I said, it's not an exact replica, but I wanted to make it like, oh, this could be any little harbor in the state. You could go to any on the coast. This is just about any little harbor. It's a good representation of any little fishing harbor. So.
Yeah.
Well, it works really. Well, and I think it echoes or rings true for me because I live in Washington State, which is a coastal town. I mean, it's a coastal state, and you know, I've lived in most of my life next to water of some sort like that. So right now, I mean, I'm in Port Orchard, which is literally a port town, right? So we see this type of stuff all the time, and so I think I can kind of relate more with the functions of these buildings and docks and boats because I see it. I walk by it. I've been out on them, you know. So yeah, that's really cool. Like you said, I think it really represents that anywhere, you know. You come across this.
Yeah, I that was definitely what I was trying to get across with this one. The other thing that I kind of had in the back of my mind, and I don't know if I'll do it with this particularly, but it's still kind of in my mind, is that this is something I could build off of. Like
Absolutely.
I had always, in years past, I was always going to be that guy. I wanted to build a city or something like that, but I'm not going to do that at this point. I'm not going to like try to build a massive Lego city with modulars and stuff like, but if I was to build something, I'd like to build off and make build off of something like this and build around it. If you know what I mean, like
absolutely.
I need space for it, which I don't have, but that's always kind of in the back of my mind. Like, oh, I could build off of something like this, you know? Yeah.
For sure.
Very cool.
It's got room for expansion, definitely.
Room for growth.
Yeah.
Well, and I like this better than a city, you know? People's cities, not to like hate on the city people, but like it's kind of just stacks of buildings.
It's kind of to hate on the city people.
Right.
Kind of hate on them a little bit, yeah. I mean, I know we have some people that watch us that do cities. Creator, Ethan? What's his name?
Yeah.
I like cities, but if I was going to do one, I would try to make it custom to whatever my interests are, you know, as far as what do I want to build, you know? So
well, and having this centralized in it brings the eye to an actual scene that's unique, not in most Lego setups. Not like that anyway, but What Barry dropped a comment real quick. He said something Martha's Vineyard vibes.
Yeah, he said, "Yep, Martha's Vineyard for sure." I literally said that to Crystal earlier.
That's awesome.
I've never been to Martha's Vineyard, but yeah, I'm sure.
Well, it looks like you have.
Yeah.
Okay. To the rest of us in the country, it looks like you've been there.
Maine is just a less populated and quieter Martha's Vineyard, I think. Probably.
There you go.
James Westman says, instead of building a generic city, build a small world.
Yeah, I like that. That's
perfect.
A really good way to put it.
And that's exactly that's exactly what I would do myself if I was getting into that. Which at some point maybe I'll have the room and the space and the money and the time to do all of that. So when I build another house or you know, then I can do it. No. Hey, I mean, you know,
no space for it now, but
throw those goals out there, make it happen.
So as castle guys, Jason and I are probably both wondering, what's this doing on your page?
Man, I was going to take this off my... No. All right. So this is the story behind this one. I was just getting into kind of introducing myself to studio, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I actually participated in one of the Brick Huntress Let's Build series.
Oh yeah.
And I was Let's Build Digital, and this was like last winter, I think. So that was kind of like my first. I wanted to figure out how to use some of the digital stuff just for my own like planning for mocks and stuff like that. So this build right here is that build that I did for that series. So yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
I like it.
There's no minifigs.
Where's the
There's
minifig?
like one.
Yeah, there's a minifig right down.
There's one. There's one there.
Hey, it's
Kind
digital.
of for some reason it still feels like a lighthouse.
It does, doesn't it? It's like a medieval lighthouse. I was like, man,
Hey, I mean, it works. They had lighthouse type stuff back in the day. I mean, the Lighthouse of Alexandria.
I know, but it's just,
times.
I mean, we don't have to defend the build. I'm just saying, coming from him, it's like very lighthouse-ish.
No, I think it's a cool build. You know, my favorite part of this
it's
is
like I think it was like it's like a watchtower or like a guard by the sea, you know, something like that. Which is kind of the same idea as a lighthouse, but
yeah, where they'd put a beacon in the top with like maybe a bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, lighthouse.
You keep, you got to keep an eye out for them Vikings scrolling down.
Right.
You know, that the cave entrance is so cool. You know, the rest of it is fairly generic castle building, you know, but which is fine because that's what castles are. They're towers of bricks, right? But I really like the banners, of course. I like that interesting arrow loop you've got on there. And the biggest, the coolest thing, this brings this whole build into a more unique realm, is that cave entrance down there and the terrain you have around it. Really, really cool. And that's what I grabs me and gives me the story for this.
Yeah, very sharp rocks along the sea. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
If Maine had a castle,
right? Yeah, if Maine had a castle with a beacon in the top, this would be it.
You know, I have, you know, I was chuckling when you guys were talking about. I caught the tail end of some of the studio talk or the digital building talk. I was like. Yeah. I was like, oh man,
Andrew lost his mind. I don't know what happened.
You know,
I don't know what happened either. I really don't. I don't hate everybody that uses it. I even though that's the way it came across.
No, it's tough for me because I've done a couple things in studio, and it's really tough for me to use in the sense that like I almost do a little better when I have some limitations on what kind of parts and pieces I can use.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
because you can see here, like I went kind of crazy with the dark gray slopes on the rocks. I was just like pumping them in, like I got unlimited supply of these things, and
right.
I know how that feels.
You
with
know,
the dark bluish gray.
Yeah, but so right now I use Studio mostly for like if I, I kind of want to do some like planning for a build or. Kind of get the dimensions or the size.
It's great for planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely got some useful tools. That's for sure. Yeah, I agree. Well, for what? Yeah, digital building versus physical building, so different. I totally agree. For me, I find a lot more creative parts usage when I'm building with my physical pieces.
Yeah.
Just for the fact of having them in your hand and like holding things up to things and like just messing around. Well, you just can't really do that in studio. You can drop a piece in and see if it fits, but
right.
Yeah, man. So I feel for sure.
My skills on studio are not. I started doing it, you know, using studio because I wanted to be able to at least do some stuff in there. But my skills are pretty basic at this point in studio.
Well, don't feel bad. You're
Yeah,
not the only one.
It's a lot more than some people got.
This was a really, actually, when I did this was a really fun, like it helped because this was right after I started my Instagram page. So it got me to get to know some of the people that I was, you know, with like Kate and there's, I think Rick Brickham was on there too as co-host. So like it was a really good, I really enjoyed participating in it for sure. And yeah, so that's what this build's all about.
I think I was part of her Let's Build Medieval like last year.
Yeah.
I can't ever take part of any of the builds, but I sponsor them sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. So,
well, we've got one more build to talk about. We got 3 separate images for it, and we'll start with this one. I picked this one as the first image to show for this build because I love the way that you took it outside and photographed it in an area that looked like it was part of that world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It looks kind of photoshopped.
It does a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't even like spending that much time on an image anymore.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know how to use Photoshop a little bit, so yeah.
This is all
So
authentic.
this is obviously a very big build.
Yeah.
This doesn't show half of it.
Yeah.
But explain to me what this is, just as a basic, and then we're going to jump into some of these other two slides here, so that we can talk about some of the techniques that you used, because some of them are pretty good.
So, as might not be a surprise, this is a structure. This is a building
In Maine?
Camden, Maine. Yep, this is a real place.
Okay. I figured it was.
This is a Camden Public Library, and it you know, I grew up going there pretty regularly. We went to this library, and it's in a really nice spot that overlooks Camden Harbor. It's a really, really cool spot, and people do, you know, they have a little amphitheater next door, which is where like me and my wife did our engagement and wedding photos and stuff. Like, it's a really beautiful spot.
Nice.
And on top of that, it's a really cool old structure. Like, it was built in like 1900.
Okay.
And so I was like, when I was thinking about what I could do for another build, I was like, I should build that. See what I can do. And I started with the top, you know, the main building. And after I got done, I was like, I should just keep building the whole facility, because
there you go.
As you'll see in the next picture, you know, it's a pretty big place.
So let's take a look at that, because it looks like you can take the grass off.
Yep.
And you can see the library, how it's kind of built into the hill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It's so the library, the main part of the library now is actually all underground.
Wow.
And yeah, so I built it so you could pull that off and kind of see inside.
That's cool.
Yeah, so the inside it's all laid out pretty close to what's in there now. They got a kids room, and they got a bunch of stacks of books. They have like a conference room, or a room for different events. So that was kind of, I hadn't originally planned on doing the whole interior and everything. I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to build this thing, I might as well just like spend some extra time and do it, you know, do all of it. So
yeah. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty cool build. How long is this, like, overall?
The actual size?
Yeah.
It's about the same size as the harbor. The footprint of it is about the same. Like, it's a little bit shorter than that, but it's about 36 by 40 or something like that, as far as dimension.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the pieces that are in there, I can kind of see its scale. That's why I was curious. I'm not sure, you know, what I can see the concrete, like the walkways and the trees over on the one side, and then I can see the one walkway that goes the full way.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of interesting how, you know, I mean, I'm not sure how the building is set up structurally, like in real life.
Yep.
But I just love this. I wish that there was more stuff in the grass.
Yep.
You know, like maybe more flowers or whatever, like for the build. But overall, this with the photo is just phenomenal. Have you displayed this at the library?
Yeah. So I was just going to say, I just brought it back, actually. So it's been on display in this building for the past 2 months, actually, which was really nice. It's been a blast having it down there. But, you know, it's funny, that morning that I took that photo outside. So I took a bunch of photos inside on my kitchen counter.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, these look pretty good. And I had always planned on taking it outside to do photos. I thought that would be a neat, fun idea to do it in the fall. Like, and I was like, oh, these look pretty good. So I asked my wife, I showed her, and she's like, you just need to, because it took a lot of work to take it outside and like set it up. She's like, you just need to go outside and set that thing up and take some pictures. She's like, because you went to all that work, you might as well just see if you can get some good shots. So,
well, I mean, I think it paid off. I mean, this is a great shot of it.
It is. It was a fantastic decision to do, because it ended up being a really nice day. And actually, the morning I went out there, it was like a little foggy and hazy. And there's some photos on there of that's kind of how the library looks in real life in the morning, because when the fog's sitting on the harbor like that, it covers the library too.
Sure,
So
yeah.
it ended up being a pretty cool effect for sure.
Nice. We have a few comments on this. James Westman is saying this is a beautiful build. Love the bookshelves.
Thanks, man.
Down in there. Yeah, I would agree with that. And then Mirko, this is awesome. These trees reminded me of the original build for the new Ideas Cabin in the Woods set.
Yeah.
And they are pretty nice.
Thank you. That I take that as a big compliment, because I love those trees on that original build for that set. Those are cool. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So let's take a look here at the 2 staircases that you've got on this thing.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, those are tricky.
They were
rounded staircases on the backside.
Yeah, those were pretty tricky. And I did the front side first, and I figured out that I could do those the bend, on the staircases. And so I tried it on the backside, and it's a little bit sharper of a bend. I don't even know what made me think of doing it that way. I just, for me, when I'm building something like this, I'm looking at photos as much as I can to see how is that in real life, and how am I going to get there in Lego? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
it ended up looking pretty near the real thing. So,
well, they're impressive. That's for sure.
One thing I will say on this, which you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell from here. So I ordered on Bricklink. I ordered a bunch of the tubing, the flex tubing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I got them here, and they were the wrong size to fit inside the clips. And I had just spent like a stupid amount of money doing it too. I was like, and it took me a while to get here and shipping and everything. I was like, this is
right.
So I had to scrap that plan. And so part of those rails, I wanted them to be the flex tubing, but they aren't actually Lego.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Really?
You know what they are is I cut up a phone charger cord.
Oh, nice.
Because
that actually I think will work. I mean,
I cut an old black phone charger that I had. I was like, this is just the right size,
bro.
And so I just popped it in because I was like, I don't want to wait for all of these flex tubings to come in, and so I probably should go back and order some more, but I was like, you know what? These look pretty good. And it didn't cost me a thing. I got rid of one of my old phone chargers too. So,
well, yeah. So
they're not real. I just thought I thought I should come clean to you guys before you asked.
Fair enough.
So.
Well, that knowing our past, that's probably a good idea.
Now we can title this in the
fake
thumbnail.
Lego, not even real Lego.
Orange Bricks comes clean on his dirty Lego secrets.
Using phone cords. That is insane, though. It fits the iPhone cord as well. This fits right in a minifig's hand.
Yeah, I was just doing. I put the monkey on mine. It works perfectly. That's crazy.
I justified it by saying if I wanted to get this in Lego, I probably could, but I didn't. At the time I was finishing it up, I was like, I don't want to wait for that. So.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Overall, I assumed it was the flex tubing.
Yeah.
Anyway, right. So until you said that, it was flex tubing to me, man.
Well, the on the front of the building there, kind of underneath the porch, that is flex tubing. I did have some of it, but I didn't have enough of it in black to do the whole thing. So.
And those things are expensive.
Yeah, that's why I was like. I already wasted, money on buying the wrong size, like the width. And I was like, I don't really want to do that again. It's hard to tell on Bricklink what sometimes on some of those pieces. So
sure. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's why I agree with Andrew on that one. Like if it, and kind of what you said, Colby, as well, is if it technically would have fit the tubing, you can at some point replace it with tubing. Then
that was my plan. I don't know if I ever
matter.
will at this point, but because it's been displayed for 2 months anyway. So
yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, some pretty cool builds. We've now all been to Maine.
Yeah, for real. That's so cool, man.
That's definitely the vibe. You know, I didn't really set out to like build stuff from Maine necessarily, but when I did the replica of my own house and then I did the replica of the lighthouse,
yeah,
I had a lot of fun doing those because they were something that was familiar to me personally, but they also ended up being like builds that people could look at and be like, oh, that's a nice build. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know that it's a real thing, but and then people in my area know, like, if they see the lighthouse in Lego, they're like, oh, I know they know what it is right away.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's definitely the vibe I got when I built the library. I got a really big, like locally they thought it was really cool. And we don't have a ton of Lego activity in Maine, you know, so it's something that's pretty, you know, fairly unique.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any idea of, like, are you working on something new, or, you know, I mean, do you have something else in mind that you're gonna build?
I have a couple ideas that I've kind of been thinking through, but I'm not currently, I'm not currently putting anything together, but I'm like in the early stages of thinking through a couple of ideas. But
nice.
Yeah, for me, it takes a little bit to get into them, right? You gotta be like, really think it through, and it's like, how am I going to do this? So I'm not actively building anything at the moment, but I will be soon, hopefully. So,
well, I mean, I know how that is. I've got this castle that I'm working on, and it's turned out to be more of a project than I expected it to be, especially closing it down. It's like, how? And I end up pacing the floor, staring at it, like running through the brick Rolodex in the mind, you know, saying, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this work? So, I mean, I can imagine.
It's that's for me, like, that's half of the building process is like, just like thinking about what I'm going to do. Like when I'm not actually physically sitting in front of my bricks and like putting them together, it's like actually thinking about, how am I going to make this work? Let me try that. So, yeah. But
just want to say hi to the Lego Den jumping in. Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, Mirko said he'd love to see our faces if you'd have said there were mega blocks.
You know,
there are no mega blocks in this thing, not one. I throw those right away when I get them.
Every now and again, when I get I've got a couple bulk lots sitting here in the shop right now that I'm having my nephews like sort, and we'll get them, and I'll just rake them all into the trash. But they'll miss one every now and again, and when I get it, I just look at the furthest corner from wherever I'm at in the room and just throw it.
That's what I do. I launch it. I usually launch them so I can get them away from the rest of them. You know, so
get as far away from the real Lego as possible.
I got a corner that's just got a bunch of like crap pieces over there, and you know, I gave the last bag to my little nephews, and they loved them. They didn't care. So
as long as they're not in your house, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to put them in any of my builds. So
yeah, I'm not a huge Make Blocks fan. I used to be way more purist than I am now. So the foam core didn't bug me too much, but and the cloth sales.
It's okay if I get some hate on that, guys. It's okay.
Hey, the foam core thing that's pretty genius, man. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I mean, I got a couple of those battle pigs from China, you know, like I got some brick warrior stuff here and there. Like I used to hate on it. Yeah, those guys right there, the little battle pigs for the dwarves. Like I don't know, man. I feel like if it fits into the world you're building, I don't really have an issue with it as much anymore. And I've done my own custom stuff now.
Right.
Not parts as much really, but like prints, or at least ideas for prints. Now that I'm in it a little more, I'm like, who am I to judge? You know,
I figure I did it with the sales, well, I'm not buying like actual Lego company sales for the ship. So I mean, like, I don't know.
Well, they wouldn't even have ones that would necessarily fit the need either.
They wouldn't. No, I did look, actually. I did look, but
Well, I mean, and to be honest, like we said, I mean, that ship looks like it's an actual model.
Yeah.
It looks like a model of a ship, not necessarily like built out of Lego. Number one, you didn't really build it the way a typical Lego builder may do so.
Yeah.
It does look like a model.
Yeah.
So that fabric that you chose for those sails and to custom make them to fit it was probably a good idea. I mean, it probably took it over the top. I feel like visually.
I think it works. It adds to the model feel of that. So I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that we'll all be excited to see if you're going to be working on something again.
Yeah, I really like your style, man.
I've been asked a few times since that library, because that got me it got me a little bit of local press. You know, did a little interview on the TV station in Bangor. You know, stuff like that, which was fun. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me, "What are you gonna build next?" And be like, "Oh, I don't know." Like,
and you don't have like a list? It's like 2 miles long.
I don't have a list 2 miles long. I really
everybody else in the Lego world does.
I know. I am like, and I haven't throughout this whole time. Like it's always kind of just like come to me be like, oh, I'm gonna try building that. Like none of these things were like, I did think the library probably 6 months before I built it. So, but I don't have a big list usually.
Hey, I mean, that might free you up to kind of do what you want when it comes, as opposed to adding it to a list of 100 other things you want to build. Did you build a lot of actual buildings before you got into doing actual real life buildings? Because I have a kind of a question to follow that up, but did you do a lot of that before, or
like kind of like mocks out of my own imagination?
Yeah,
not a ton.
Not so much. Okay.
Nope. No, I didn't do a ton of mocking before, starting doing these replicas at all.
Right.
The only mocking I ever did was back when I was like younger. Yeah.
Kids building random stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Because I mean, I haven't done much historical buildings or building replicas of things in real life, but I did 8 years ago or so build most of the Alamo. And man, again, it's another level, right? So you're jumping into these different levels of building, and building from real life to capture, like you said, looking at pictures and photos and jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
It's a whole another experience. So if people are out there who have been building and mocking for a long time, building lots of fantasy or stuff from their heads or whatever it is, and you're looking for a challenge, do what Colby's doing, and jump into, find something in the real life and see how you can replicate. I know, is it the St. Louis brick guy or what?
Yeah.
He does that a lot. I've seen him do it a lot. But from someone who doesn't do that, dude does all the wild fantasy, crazy, nuts looking stuff on Instagram all the time. Jumping into that side of it was a totally different experience. It's really quite challenging to get some of those things you see in the photos of these historical places. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw them out there. It's pretty fun.
The people in the community that have the one connection between the multiple groups is the knowledge of the brick. That's the one thing you have to have. So clearly, Colby, you've got enough knowledge of the brick as far as pieces go, what's available. I mean, it may not be as vast as some others,
right?
But that's the key. Either way, it's like, even if you're seeing in real life, you got to know how you're able to do that with the brick.
Right. Exactly. How you
know what I mean?
Yeah. But it feeds both ways too, because I think you'll learn how to use bricks in a different way.
It's been actually even every time I build something new, it's I know it may be a little cliched-ish, but it's like, oh, I always learn something new. And it's like, yeah, I do, because if I'm building something different, I got to figure out a different way to use them, And Jason, I would just say, I'm almost the opposite in the sense that I feel like it comes easier for me to take a look at something in real life and try to put it into Lego versus pulling it out of my like 100% on my imagination and then putting something together that looks awesome. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like, this isn't really what I've done, but I feel like I probably would like to try to like actually create something out of my own head, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, you have a nice jump start with the castle one you did, because I assume that's not an actual place, but it
is not. No,
it echoes some of the familiar things that you know, like coastline and
yeah,
like
that's true.
Andrew was kind of making fun of it a little bit as being a lighthouse.
Yeah, I did have a question on that. Building with the imagination of orange bricks, is it also going to be in Maine?
What's that?
Your imagination build?
Not necessarily. No, I don't think so. Like I could see myself getting into some imagination builds. Like I really enjoy like anything historical. Like I'm a big fan, and I always have. And I could see myself like just building a historical scene from somewhere else in the world, at a different time. You know, so not necessarily in Maine. I mean, I do. But yeah,
he's kind of screwing with you a little bit.
Yeah, not to get off topic here, but you know, when I go to sleep at night, my wife is currently watching some historical thing on Egypt. So for the last several nights, I'm like thinking in my head, how do I make a full army of like Egyptians?
Yeah,
like
hard
with like all 3 of the pyramids of Giza and like the whole everything.
Yeah,
and you know, that's one thought. It goes in and comes out this side, and there's nothing. Right,
the ships with the big gold, like.
But yeah, I mean, a huge historical builds. I could get into that.
Yeah, I really, that's something that I definitely could get into. That's the stuff I really like. So it's not Maine related at all, but it's something that I'm interested in. So I probably will try to build something historical at some point that isn't necessarily tied to New England or Maine. So
yeah, a step that could be a nice stepping stone into that would be, I know Andrew's not necessarily a lover of the Wild West theme, but I know that you are, and that could be a really cool. I'd love to see you build a fort or something in the Wild West theme to step into some of that more imagination. So because I've dabbled in some of the Wild West stuff myself.
And absolutely.
Did you guys ever watch Hell on Wheels?
Yeah, dude.
I haven't seen Hell on Wheels. No.
For somebody that likes Fort Legorado and you've not seen it, that's a serious problem, Colby.
Okay.
Yeah, Hell on Wheels was a fantastic.
I can't even make a reference now because you don't know what I'm talking about.
Man. I'm sorry. I got to put it right next on my list, right next to like Bluey or whatever my son's watching.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I feel that for sure. Yeah, you got to be. Yeah, there's a period where it's just that kids stuff blaring all day long, and it's hard to get your own shows in sometimes. But speaking of shows, Andrew, I think you mentioned this one before. Kat and I, my wife, just started watching Yellowstone.
Oh yeah, I got to get into
that. Holy crap!
Build Yellowstone. Build all the barns and the house and the property. That'd be an amazing build,
dude. I could see Andrew being like the guy that flies around the helicopter everywhere for some reason. For like no,
I'm the guy that runs over motorcycles in a Ram. That's who I am.
So anyway, yeah, I just thought that was funny, but no, great. Man, that was a good show. So just a random side note of shows because we were talking about shows. So Hell on Wheels is also recommended by the Brick Stop for sure.
All right,
I would say when you get time, watch it and then go build Cheyenne.
All right,
there you go.
That's
gonna hit your world real well.
That's cool. That's something that I could like. You see something and be like, I could build something based on it. That's how I look at everything now too. Like I'm like if I go somewhere, if I'm watching something, be like, ooh, would that be cool to build out of Lego? I don't know, maybe.
I know, and it's crazy that you say that too, because there's a lot of people on Instagram I've seen over the course of the years where they like build like a stapler sitting on a desk, and I'm like, that's super cool and it's so good, but why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it was sitting on the desk or what?
Right. I do like to build. Yeah, I like stuff that can be theoretically could be played with. You know what I mean? Which I think is one reason I've always liked Jason's stuff so much. Is it for a bunch of reasons I like his stuff, but it's always like.
I try to put those play functions in. Yeah, make it feel like it was real.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, going back to what you said, Andrew, just to have a little bit of conversation here about that, the random stapler or whatever. your reaction to that is how I react to the Lego ones, the official Lego like typewriters and stuff like that. I know that you like them, so I'm not going to crap on them at all. But that's my first reaction. I'm like, why?
Yeah,
So,
well,
but
I
no,
mean,
I get it. I get it.
those are kind of cool, right? But like
They're
the
cool.
vintage typewriter is cool, right? But
But
like a
why?
conventional modern stapler means that you're at a desk that you probably don't want to be at.
Yeah, that's fair. That's kind of a weird specific one for sure. But like,
Yeah.
Unless
I mean,
it's the stapler from Office Space, if you guys know what that is.
yeah.
I've
I
seen
don't know if you
Office
get the
Space
reference.
or the stapler in Jello from The Office.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. You know,
There you
Yeah.
go. You
there's
can
a
spend-
story behind them, right?
Cool.
Yeah, give you a pass for those ones. Hey, I've got a couple quick kind of rapid fire ones. Preferences, plates or slopes?
Plates.
Well, they're more useful. I hate
think-
plates. I've had the hatred of plates for a long time, but I get why people choose plates because they're one of the most useful pieces ever. What do you got, Andrew? You're gonna say something?
I like slopes. Yeah, I like
slopes.
slopes.
Yeah, slopes are fun. Mini dolls, minifigs. That should be obvious.
Come on, I don't think I have a mini doll.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I just
minifigs. Sorry,
I just thought of
okay.
these off the top of my head. So, scale. Do you like micro, minifig scale, or larger than minifig scale most?
Minifig scale. Yeah, definitely.
This is why you're on our show here.
Yeah.
You're on our same wavelength here. And the final one, yellows versus fleshies, the age-old question.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, yellows. Absolutely.
You're on Jordan's team with us along with everyone else. Okay, cool. So you passed the Brick Stop Brick Monarch challenge there, except for plates.
Well, so plate.
useful.
Yeah, I mean, if I do get a lot more like. I feel like if I had to choose, like I'm gonna pick plates because I feel like I can do a lot with them. But,
so as the pragmatic answer was, yeah. I mean, I couldn't live without them. I just don't like them for some reason. They bug me. But anyway, that's just
I like plates better. You know, I use so many of them on my build, like for everything. But I don't like always to have the plate look. You know, like I do like to have a combination of, you know, the studs out and no studs. You know, that kind of look. Anyway.
Well, that was the first time we've used those questions too. So I don't know, Andrew. What do you think? Could we fire those at all our guests at the end of the show?
I think so. Yeah,
I think it's
and
kind of fun.
They should become more rigorous.
And then we can do like a red X if they answer mini dolls or something. Just like take them off.
Throw a buzzer up there on the thing, like a red X.
Wrong answer. For the record, Lady Bricks is saying the typewriter is for our bookshelf.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, but so is a real old typewriter. That'd be fun too. You could
That's
actually
what we're
type
talking about. No, we don't need a no. The replica's cool, built out of Lego. That's all good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
To each
we have one more comment in here. Just because Mirko's always coming in, and this I guess can be applied to anyone. One question off topic: did you guys get the new Falconer Lady? I swear I can see myself becoming Michael Douglas' character from Falling Down movie. If another Lego store employee tells me no. Okay, that was real deep.
Falling Down, unfortunately.
I also had a similar experience. On the first, I was unable to get to the Lego store. When it opened, they were sold out in Atlanta. They sold out in Nashville. And I recently went back Saturday, and they were all sold out of everything except for one of these.
Hey, you got
this is the only one I have. I do not have the Falconer yet. I've pretty much committed to buying it on Bricklink at this point. Jason,
I don't have it either.
Yeah. What about you, Colby?
Guys? Any of you? No.
Say that again.
Did you?
The CMF Falconer.
Don't have it.
Black Falconer. Yeah, same. So that's funny that none of us have it on here. Yeah, I've seen people getting a hold of them, but I haven't even bothered to check yet.
Well, don't, because they apparently the Lego store in Nashville is just they sift them out and they'll tell you what you're getting. They say which one do you want, and then you can buy all of them.
Okay, so random
or up to 6 or whatever.
Lego should have just made 5 million more of them or 10 million more of them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why they're $1 billion corporation and can't make a couple hundred more of these things. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. This is where I get cynical. But before we go on a rant about that, I will say my Ace Hardware sells collectible minifigs. So
What?
if you have one around, check them out. It's at the cash register area. Before you walk to the cash register, they have the weird kids' toys, like just random. Yeah. They had some hanging on a little hook there, and they were the seasonal ones with the little turkey guy and all that.
Oh, nice.
So I'm kind of waiting to see if they will keep that in and switch them out to the new ones, because, dude, no one's looking at an Ace Hardware. So I was able to find a couple of those Crown Knights. I got 4 of them out of the Ace Hardware. They're $1 more, though, because Ace Hardware's got their markup, but it might be worth it if you can actually get a hold of them. So, and I don't know if those are at other Ace Hardware.
I've never heard that before.
I've never seen them at Ace Hardware, but
never seen. I worked at an Ace Hardware, and they never had them.
Yeah.
So this was
the
one down the road. So I don't know.
That's kind of crazy.
Might be worth a shot.
I mean, it was fun to talk to you, Colby. It was kind of interesting to see your take on, you know, like where you come from mentally, like for the brick, you know, like how you approach things. It does look like a stroll through Maine, all of your builds.
Absolutely.
I don't think that I mind if another build from you is similar to that as well. Like, I think that it's just kind of, it's kind of interesting to see the take on how you're putting them together, how you're structuring things. It's kind of interesting. I would also like to see something completely creative.
Yeah. I like that you're thinking that direction for sure.
Yeah. It's, with each, like I said before, kind of with each one that I do, I'm trying to think, well, what can I do that's like a little bit different than I did before? So it's not, I'm not just building another, we got a lot of cool lighthouses in Maine, but like, just so I'm not like building another lighthouse, or like, what can I do that's a little bit different? That's a little, maybe, like you said, maybe more out of my imagination. For sure.
Definitely.
James Westman said he's enjoyed the stream. Also, thank you, Colby, for showing off your builds. They're fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah. No, I really appreciate you guys having me on. Like I say, it's kind of super duper niche as far as Lego building. Like, no one really be like, those are cool, but they, you know, it's
we think they're awesome. Yeah. We're really happy to have you on here, and we just want to showcase people in the community who we appreciate, you know, sharing their work, and we want to build people up. Yeah. So that's, you know, people who maybe aren't as well known. You know, we're not that well known ourselves, so we're gonna build everyone up together like a ladder. So we're all climbing together, showing people's work off here, and that's what we're wanting to do. So that's why we wanted to have you on.
So anybody watching moving forward, go check out Colby's page at ChorangeBix on Instagram, and you know, just give him a follow.
Is there anywhere else you have your work, or is it just your Instagram?
It's really Instagram. Yeah, that's kind of where. That's pretty much.
Check him out for sure. Go give him a follow. People from YouTube, get your butts over to Instagram, because honestly, that's where a lot of us are kind of thriving. We're on YouTube because it works better for the live, but like, get your butts over there. Follow Chorange, follow Brick Monarch, follow me.
Andrew,
thanks for jumping on.
I'll tell you, Andrew. I think I've mentioned this to Jason before in a message, but his stuff is what got me following any Lego Instagram pages at all. Back when I had a personal account, I came across your stuff, and I, like probably a lot of people do, I was like, what is that a real set from, you know, I can't even remember which one it was, if it was a Western or if it was a castle set. And I was like, what is this? People. And so I started following you, and then a year later, I think I created my own Lego Instagram account.
Awesome.
But that's what pulled me in, because I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So
I think you did. I recall you saying that. A while back in the messages. Well, that's cool. That's the reason I'm doing it. So, you know, the fact that you built this is crazy, really. Think about it. Like, you built an Instagram account based on all of that interaction. And here you are on our live show talking about your builds that were inspired by the things around you. So perfect. This is a perfect example of
it's a perfect example of the community circle, and you know, just trying to keep everybody involved. We very much appreciate you coming in and being a part of our live as well, and being part of our chat every time we have a different topic, you know, because it's fun to bounce, you know, comments off of people, and you know, me and Jason get a little crazy sometimes,
Yeah,
we're here for it though.
I know everybody's there for the excitement, you know.
Just yeah. I mean, it's good.
Yeah. So we appreciate your viewership as well as being part of the show for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess that's another episode of Let's Talk About Lego.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Featuring Orange Bricks.
All right.
Orange Bricks. Thanks so much for being on.
Cool.
Have a great night, everyone.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone. Colby, we'll talk with you later. Jason, have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
See you, everybody.